Galen Mason floated in the quiet archive room of the Starseeker. The blue glow of data screens lit his face as his fingers moved across the control panel. He wasn't supposed to be here. No one with his low rank should access these files, but his curiosity was too strong. "Access granted," the computer said. Galen smiled. The override code he'd found actually worked. The screen filled with old records about a planet called Earth. Galen leaned closer, his eyes wide. For years he had heard whispers about this world. The elders of the Galactic Council kept it off limits. No contact allowed. No study permitted. Earth was forbidden. But why? Galen downloaded the files to his personal device. His heart beat fast as he checked the corridor and slipped out of the archives. Later in his small quarters, Galen couldn't stop reading. Earth was the third planet in an ordinary solar system. Its people, humans, looked almost like his own species except for their rounded ears and greater variety of skin colors. Nothing seemed strange enough to explain the ban. Then he found it. Reports of human development showed something remarkable. Where most intelligent species took thousands of years to advance from simple tools to space travel, humans had done it in just a few hundred. Their technology grew at a rate that scared the first observers. "This can't be right," Galen whispered to himself. More files showed humans survived wars, plagues, and disasters that would have ended other civilizations. They rebuilt. They adapted. They never stopped pushing forward. The next day, Galen took his findings to Dr. Lisa Ward, his supervisor. Lisa's office walls were covered with star maps and ancient artifacts. She listened quietly as Galen explained what he'd found. "You accessed restricted files," she said when he finished. Her voice was flat. "Do you know what the elders do to people who break their rules?" "But Dr. Ward, don't you see how important this is?" Galen placed his device on her desk. "The development rate of these humans defies everything we know about intelligent species, and the elders are hiding it." Lisa sighed and looked at the door to make sure it was closed. "Galen, I've been studying far longer than you. The elders don't make rules without reason." "What reason could justify hiding an entire species?" Lisa turned to her window. Beyond it, the stars streaked by as the Starseeker moved through space. "Fear," she said simply. "The elders fear what they don't understand, and they don't understand how humans have survived and grown, despite everything working against them." Galen stood up. "So we just accept that? We're supposed to be scientists. We're scientists who want to keep our jobs." Lisa turned back to him. "Listen to me carefully. High Elder Vexna herself signed the Earth Prohibition. She believes humans are dangerous. Their adaptability, their drive to survive at all costs, these qualities make them unpredictable. Or valuable allies," Galen argued. "The last research team that said that disappeared." Lisa's eyes were serious. "Destroyed by the Enforcement Division, according to rumors." Galen felt cold. The Enforcement Division didn't have a reputation for mercy. "Delete those files," Lisa said. "Forget Earth. Focus on approved research." Galen nodded slowly, but in his mind, questions multiplied. If humans were so dangerous, why hadn't they spread beyond their solar system? The records showed they had basic space travel, but nothing like the faster-than-light technology of the Council. Back in his quarters, Galen didn't delete the files. Instead, he sent a message to two friends he trusted, Olivia Pierce in biology and Jack Nelson in technology research. The message was simple. "Found something important. Need to talk. My quarters. 2200 hours." As he waited, Galen stared at an image of Earth, a blue marble hanging in space. What secrets did this world hold? And was Lisa right? Was it safer to stay away? He didn't think so. Knowledge was always better than ignorance, wasn't it? Even if the elders disagreed. At exactly 2200 hours, Olivia Pierce and Jack Nelson arrived at Galen's quarters. Olivia's green eyes darted nervously down the corridor before she slipped inside. Jack followed, his tall frame nearly hitting the top of the doorway. "This better be good," Jack said. dropping onto Galen's small couch. I was in the middle of calibrating the new sensor array. Galen checked that his door was locked and pressed a button on his desk. A soft hum filled the room. A signal blocker. Illegal for anyone but security personnel to use. What I'm about to show you could end all our careers, Galen said. He activated his screen and the Forbidden Earth files appeared in the air between them. Maybe worse. For the next hour, Galen showed his friends everything he had discovered about Earth. Olivia, a specialist in alien biology, studied the human physical data with growing amazement. Their cellular regeneration is remarkable, she said, enlarging an image of human DNA. And their immune systems, they've survived diseases that would wipe out most species. Jack whistled as he flipped through Earth's technological history. They went from basic flight to landing on their moon in just 66 years? That's impossible. That's humans, Galen replied. The elders have hidden this planet from us for centuries. The question is why? Olivia sat back, her face serious. Maybe they're worried these humans would advance too quickly if given access to our technology. Maybe they'd become a threat? Or maybe the elders just want to control who gets to join the galactic community, Jack said, his voice hard. He had always been critical of the council's politics. Whatever the reason, Galen said, as scientists, don't we have a duty to learn the truth? The prohibition against Earth goes against everything the council claims to stand for. They fell, silent, each lost in thought. Outside Galen's window, the stars seemed to watch them, waiting for their decision. Finally, Jack spoke. We should go there. Olivia's head snapped up. To Earth? Are you crazy? Think about it. Jack leaned forward, eyes bright with excitement. The Starseeker will be at the outer edge of Earth's solar system next week for the routine scan of the gas giants. We could take a scout ship, visit Earth for a few days, and be back before anyone notices. That's not just breaking research protocols, Olivia said. It's violating the highest law of the Council. Direct contact with a prohibited world. Galen stared at the rotating image of Earth. It's the only way to find out why the elders are so afraid of this place. If we get caught, Olivia began, we'll be doing what real scientists are supposed to do, Galen interrupted. Discovering the truth, not just accepting what we're told. Jack grinned. I can program the scout ship's tracking system to show it's in for maintenance. I've been working on the system for months. I know how to fool it. Olivia shook her head but didn't argue further. Galen could see the curiosity in her eyes, fighting with her caution. We leave in 6 days, Galen decided. We'll need supplies, a cover story, and a landing plan. For the next week, they prepared in secret. Jack secured the scout ship and modified its systems. Olivia studied Earth's atmosphere and biology to prepare safety measures. Galen mapped a remote landing site using old survey data. The night before their planned departure, Galen couldn't sleep. He stood at his window, looking out at the distant stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, a world of beings who had accomplished so much on their own. What are you really like? He whispered to the unknown humans. And what will happen when we meet? He didn't know the answer, but soon, breaking every rule the elders had set, he would find out. The scout ship dropped through Earth's atmosphere like a silver needle. Inside, Galen gripped his seat as the vessel shook. Olivia monitored their life support systems while Jack focused on keeping them hidden from Earth's primitive radar systems. Landing. In 2 minutes, Jack announced. So far, no sign they've detected us. Below them, the landscape of what humans called Colorado spread out. Mountains and forests under a clear blue sky. Jack had chosen a clearing surrounded by trees, far from the nearest human settlement. The ship touched down with a gentle bump. For a moment, none of them moved. They had done it. They were the first of their kind to visit Earth in over 300 years. Air is breathable, Olivia said, checking her scanner. But we should use the language implants and skin adjusters before we go out. The adjusters were small devices that would temporarily change their appearance, smoothing their pointed ears, adjusting their slightly purple-tinted skin to match human tones. The language implants would let them understand and speak English. 30. Minutes later, they stood on Earth soil. The gravity felt slightly stronger than they were used to. The air smelled different, richer somehow. Now what? Olivia asked, looking around at the trees. Galen consulted his device. There's a small human scientific research station 2 miles that way. According to the old records, it studies local geology. It's perfect, isolated, but with a scientist who might understand what we are. They walked through the forest, jumping at unfamiliar sounds. Once, a deer crashed through the underbrush nearby, and Jack nearly used his stunner before Olivia stopped him. The research station was a small building with solar panels on its roof. As they approached, a human female stepped outside. She wore practical clothes and boots with her brown hair tied back. She froze when she saw them. "Hello?" she called out cautiously. "Are you lost? This is a private research area." Galen stepped forward, hoping the language implant was working correctly. "My name is Galen Mason. These are my colleagues, Olivia Pierce and Jack Nelson. We need to speak with you," the woman frowned. "I'm Diane Miller. How did you get out here? There's no road access for miles." "That's part of what we need to tell you," Galen said. "Is there somewhere we can talk privately?" Diane looked suspicious, but led them inside the station. The main room was filled with equipment, rock samples, and screens showing data. She crossed her arms and waited. "You won't believe us at first," Galen began. "But we're not from Earth. We've come from a civilization that spans many star systems. We're here to learn about humans." Diane laughed. "Right. Is this some kind of prank? Did my brother Frank set this up?" Jack stepped forward. "It's not a prank." He pulled out a small device and activated it. A 3-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared in the air, spinning slowly. Diane's smile disappeared. She reached out to touch the hologram, her hand passing through the stars. "This is impossible," she whispered. "We're breaking our laws by being here," Olivia explained. "Earth is off limits to contact. Has been for centuries." "Why?" Diane asked, her scientific curiosity overtaking her shock. "That's what we came to find out," Galen said. For the next hour, they answered Diane's questions as best they could. She moved from disbelief to fascination to 100 more questions. Finally, she sat back in her chair. "I should report this," she said. "This is the biggest discovery in human history." "Please don't," Galen urged. "Not yet. We need time to learn about your people first. And if our leaders discover we're here, the consequences would be severe." Diane thought for a long moment. "I'll help you on one condition. My brother Frank needs to know too. He works in security and I'll need his help to keep you safe and hidden." Galen looked at his friends. This wasn't the plan, but they needed human help to navigate this world. "Agreed," he said. "But no one else." Diane nodded and reached for her phone. "Frank will be here tomorrow. Until then, you can stay here." She looked at them with wonder in her eyes. "I still can't believe aliens chose my research station for first contact." Little did any of them know that this simple decision would set in motion events that would change both their civilizations forever. Frank Miller arrived at the research station the next morning in a mud-splattered Jeep. He was taller than his sister Diane, with short brown hair and watchful eyes that missed nothing. When Diane introduced the aliens, Frank's hand instinctively moved toward the gun at his hip. "It's really true," he said after seeing their technology. "Actual aliens." Jack studied Frank with interest. "You're a warrior?" "Ex-military," Frank corrected. "Now I work in private security." The group spent the day exchanging information. Galen explained about the Galactic Council and their civilization, while the humans shared details about Earth. Olivia took samples of plants and soil, analyzing them in small portable devices that amazed Diane. "Your technology is centuries ahead of ours," Diane said. "Yet you've advanced faster than any species we've encountered," Galen replied. "That's why we're here. We need to understand how." Frank brought out his laptop and showed them human history, wars, disasters, plagues, and how humanity had survived them all. "You never stop," Olivia observed. "Even when you should be extinct, you adapt and push forward. "What choice do we have?" Frank asked. Jack was particularly interested in human weapons. He asked Frank detailed questions about military history and tactics. When Frank showed him news articles about recent conflicts, Jack's eyes lit up. "Your people fight constantly," he said, "yet you still progress." "Maybe we progress because we fight," Frank suggested. "Competition drives innovation." That evening, while the others slept, Frank stepped outside and made a phone call. He spoke quietly, but Galen, who had trouble sleeping in the unfamiliar environment, overheard parts of the conversation. "Yes, sir, no, I'm certain. 3 of them. Advanced technology beyond anything. Yes, I understand security protocols. Tomorrow, same time." When Frank returned inside, Galen pretended to be asleep. His mind raced. Had Frank betrayed them? He decided to wait before alerting his friends. The next day, Diane took them to a nearby town. The aliens wore human clothes and kept their heads down. They visited a grocery store, a library, and a small museum. Everywhere they went, Galen was struck by the variety of humans, different sizes, colors, and styles all living together. In the library, Olivia discovered something interesting. "Humans have imagined beings like us for centuries," she said, showing Galen a science fiction book. "They've been preparing for contact through stories." Preparing or hoping, Galen wondered. Back at the research station, Olivia set up equipment to analyze human biology. With Diane's permission, she took blood and tissue samples. "Your DNA shows signs of rapid evolutionary adaptation," Olivia explained as she studied the results. "Your bodies can change to meet new challenges much faster than other species." "Is that why the elders fear humans?" Diane asked. "Possibly," Galen said. "A species that adapts quickly is unpredictable." Jack spent the day with Frank, learning about human transportation and energy systems. When they returned, Jack carried a box of items Frank had given him: small military artifacts, books on warfare, and a deactivated handgun. "For study," Jack explained when Galen looked concerned. That night, Galen finally shared his worries with Olivia while Jack was outside, examining the scout ship. "I heard Frank making a report to someone," he whispered. "I think he's told others about us." Olivia's face paled. "We need to leave." "Not yet," Galen insisted. "We still don't have enough data to explain human exceptionalism to the Council." "What if it's too late? What if—" Their conversation was interrupted by Jack bursting through the door. "3 vehicles coming this way," he said urgently. "Military type. We've been exposed." Galen looked at Diane, who seemed as surprised as they were. "Frank?" she whispered. "What have you done?" Frank burst through the door of the research station moments after Jack's warning. His face was flushed, but his eyes were cold and determined. "You need to hide," he told the aliens. "Now." Diane grabbed her brother's arm. "What did you do?" "My job," Frank replied, not meeting her eyes. "I reported to my old commander, Colonel Alan Wright. He's coming with a small team, just to talk." "Talk?" Galen didn't believe him. "With 3 military vehicles? You're the first aliens on Earth," Frank said defensively. "What did you expect?" Olivia began packing their equipment. "We need to get to the ship." "There's no time," Jack said, looking out the window. "They're already at the edge of the clearing." Galen made a quick decision. "Diane, will this colonel listen to reason?" "Alan is practical," she said slowly. "He cares about results more than rules." "Then we stay," Galen decided. "We explain why we're here and ask for cooperation." Jack pulled him aside. "Are you crazy? The Council will execute us for making official contact." "The Council isn't here," Galen whispered back. "We are, and we need more time to study humans." Before they could argue further, headlights swept across the walls as vehicles surrounded the station. Doors slammed and footsteps approached. Colonel Alan Wright was not what Galen expected. He was a man of average height with gray at his temples and intelligent eyes that took in everything. 4 soldiers flanked him, weapons ready but not raised. "Doctor," Miller, Wright nodded to Diane. I see Frank's report was accurate. His gaze shifted to the three aliens. Despite their disguises, something about them was clearly not human. Perhaps the way they stood or how their eyes reflected light. I'm Colonel Alan Wright, United States Government, he said calmly. And you are not from around here. Galen stepped forward. I am Galen Mason. My colleagues are Olivia Pierce and Jack Nelson. We come from a civilization that spans many star systems. Wright nodded as if aliens in a research station were an everyday occurrence. And why are you here when your leaders clearly don't want you to be? Galen blinked in surprise. How do you know that? Frank mentioned a council that prohibited contact with Earth, Wright explained. I'm more interested in why you broke that rule. To learn, Galen said simply. Your species develops faster than any we've encountered. We wanted to understand why. Wright seemed to consider this. And what have you learned so far? Olivia spoke up. Human DNA shows remarkable adaptive capabilities. Your immune system's neuroplasticity, even your cellular repair mechanisms, they're all extraordinarily efficient. And your history, Jack added. You've faced extinction multiple times but always survived. Always fought back. Wright's expression remained neutral, but his eyes showed interest. I have a proposal. Instead of keeping your presence limited to this small station, work with us. Share information in exchange for wider access to our world. Diane stepped forward. Alan, what are you suggesting? A controlled exchange, Wright said. Limited technology, sharing for research access. Galen hesitated. This went against everything the Council stood for. Non-interference with developing worlds. But wasn't that why they came? To understand why the rules existed? Jack moved to Wright's side. It makes sense. We have much to learn from each other. Jack, Olivia warned, we can't share technology. The Council has kept us from truly understanding species like humans, Jack interrupted. Maybe they're wrong. Galen noticed something odd. Jack and Wright exchanged a look that suggested they had already discussed this. When had that happened? We'll need time to consider your offer, Galen told Wright. Of course, we'll set up a perimeter around the station. For your privacy, Wright added with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. After the humans left, tension filled the room. They're not letting us leave, Olivia said quietly. And Jack knows more than he's saying, Galen added, looking at their colleague. Jack shrugged. Maybe I spoke with Wright last night. Maybe I see opportunities you don't. Opportunities? Galen asked. Or personal gain? Both, Jack admitted. The Council has held us back for too long. Humans have potential we've been forbidden from exploring. Diane watched this exchange with growing concern. What have I gotten into? She whispered to herself. None of them noticed Frank watching from outside, his hand on his phone, ready to make another call. 3 days passed with soldiers guarding the research station. Inside, tension grew between the aliens. Jack spent most of his time with Wright, sharing selected pieces of technology and information. Galen and Olivia tried to continue their research while planning their escape. The Council will have noticed. Our ship is missing by now, Olivia whispered as they pretended to analyze soil samples. Galen nodded. We need to leave soon, but Jack has the ship's activation codes. Outside, more military vehicles had arrived. What started as a small team had grown to 20 personnel setting up equipment around the station. That evening, Diane found Galen alone, reviewing his notes. They're building something, she said quietly. Some kind of detection system using ideas from Jack. We've been here too long, Galen replied. Jack is giving your people technology they're not ready for. Diane sat beside him. Maybe we're more ready than your council thinks. We've split the atom, reached our moon, created artificial intelligence, all on our own. It's not about capability, Galen explained. It's about responsibility. Each species needs to develop at its own pace, make its own mistakes. Or maybe your elders just want to keep their power, Diane suggested. Control who joins the galactic community. Galen had no answer. The same doubt had been growing in his mind. Later that night, a bright light woke everyone. Galen rushed outside to see a massive ship hovering above the trees, much larger than their scout vessel. It pulsed with energy that made the air crackle. Council enforcement, he whispered in horror. Wright's soldiers raised their weapons as a beam of light shot down from the ship. Within it stood High Elder Vexna herself, tall and imposing with silver skin and eyes like polished stone. 2 enforcement officers flanked her. Researcher Galen Mason. Her voice boomed unnaturally. You have violated the highest law of our council. Galen stepped forward, aware of Wright's soldiers moving into position around them. High Elder, I can explain. Silence, Vexna commanded. You and your team are under arrest. The human witnesses will be memory wiped and all evidence of contact destroyed. Wright stepped forward, surprisingly calm, facing the alien leader. I'm Colonel Alan Wright of Earth. These visitors came peacefully. We have no quarrel with your people. Vexna looked at him as one might look at an insect. Your species is prohibited. From galactic contact for good reason, human. You are dangerous, unpredictable. Because we adapt quickly? Wright asked. Because we survive? Because you never stop, Vexna said coldly. Your kind faces extinction and fights back harder. You turn disadvantages into strengths. No species should advance as rapidly as humans have. Jack emerged from the research station carrying a data cube. High Elder, I've collected valuable research on humans that explains— Traitor, Vexna cut him off. You not only broke the prohibition but shared technology with humans. I shared knowledge, Jack argued. Isn't that our purpose as scientists? Your purpose was observation only, Vexna replied. Now come. The humans will be processed and this incident erased. Wright gave a subtle hand signal to his soldiers. They tightened their grips on their weapons. No one is erasing anyone's memories, he said firmly. Vexna laughed, a hollow, cold sound. Your primitive weapons cannot harm us. Maybe not, Jack said, stepping closer to Wright. But these can. He handed the colonel a small device. Adapted from our shield technology, it will disrupt their ship's systems temporarily. Galen stared in shock. Jack, what have you done? Before anyone could react, Diane grabbed Galen and Olivia's arms. This way, she whispered, pulling them toward the back of the station. We can't leave, Olivia protested. Trust me, Diane urged. Frank has your ship ready. You need to go before this gets worse. Outside, tension built between Vexna's enforcers and Wright's soldiers. Jack stood with the humans, his betrayal now complete. This isn't just about research for you, is it? Galen asked as Diane led them through the trees. No, she admitted. Jack told me everything. About how the Council suppresses developing worlds, how they've held back countless species. Earth won't accept that fate. Behind them, a flash of light and the sound of energy weapons told them the confrontation had begun. The forest trembled as energy blasts lit up the night behind them. Diane led Galen and Olivia through the trees to where Frank waited with their scout ship. I thought you betrayed us, Galen said to Frank. Frank checked a small device in his hand. I did what was necessary. Wright needed to believe I was fully on his side. He looked at his sister. Get them out of here. I'm going back to help Wright. Be careful. Diane hugged him quickly before he disappeared into the trees. At the clearing, where they'd first landed, their scout ship waited, but as they approached, 3 council enforcers stepped out from behind it. Halt, one called, raising a weapon. Suddenly a blast knocked the enforcers off their feet. Jack appeared from the shadows, holding a modified human rifle that glowed, with alien technology. Go! He shouted. I'll hold them off. Galen stared at his friend in confusion. Jack? I thought you sided with the humans. I did, Jack said, firing another blast as more enforcers appeared. But we were all wrong. The elders, the humans, they're heading for war unless someone stops them. Olivia ran to the ship's entrance panel. The access code, Jack tossed her, a small key card. It's all there. Now go. You're not coming? Galen asked. Someone needs to stay and try to fix this, Jack replied, his expression grim. I started it by giving Wright too much technology. Get back to the council. Tell them the truth about humans. They're not a threat unless we make them one. More. Explosions rocked the forest. The council ship above fired beams at something on the ground. They're using the weapons I helped design, Jack explained, pushing them toward the scout ship. Humans adapt quickly, remember? Wright's team modified our shield technology to create weapons in just days. Inside the ship, Olivia activated the engines. Galen stood at the door, looking back at Jack and Diane. Come with us, he urged them. Diane shook her head. This is my world. I need to help my people understand what's happening. Jack fired again at approaching enforcers. Go, Galen, before Vexna brings more ships. The scout ship rose slowly. Through the window, Galen watched as Jack and Diane ran back toward the research station, where flashes of light showed the battle continued. We can't just leave them, Galen said as Olivia piloted the ship higher. We don't have a choice, she replied. Our best hope now is to reach the council before this gets worse. As they broke through Earth's atmosphere, they saw 3 more council ships entering orbit. Enforcement. Division, Olivia whispered. They're sending a full containment team. Galen accessed the ship's communication system. We need to warn Wright and the others. How? Olivia asked. Any transmission will be detected by the council ships, Galen thought quickly. Jack's data cube. He must have left something in the ship's system. He searched the ship's computer and found a hidden message from Jack. It contained codes to mask their transmission and coordinates for a secure communication channel. Clever Jack, Galen murmured as he sent a warning to Earth about the coming council forces. Minutes later, they received a response, not from Wright or Diane, but from human governments around the world. Somehow news of the aliens had spread globally. This is bigger than we thought, Olivia said, reading the incoming messages. Humans everywhere are preparing for possible council attack. How could they organize so quickly? Galen wondered. That's what humans do, came Wright's voice over their communication system. We adapt, we prepare, we survive. Wright's face appeared on their screen. Behind him, dozens of people worked at computers and equipment that clearly incorporated alien technology. Jack's designs have been shared with defense agencies worldwide, Wright explained. We've been preparing for first contact for decades through fiction, films, contingency plans. Your arrival just accelerated our timetable. Galen realized with horror what was happening. You're preparing for war with the council. Wright's expression hardened. We're preparing to defend ourselves. Your High Elder made her intentions clear. She sees us as dangerous animals to be contained. We disagree. The screen showed Earth's military forces mobilizing, scientists working on alien technology, and defenses being established around major cities. Tell your council, Wright said before cutting the connection. Earth will not be erased. The journey back to the Galactic Council took 3 days. Galen and Olivia spent most of it preparing their case, gathering Jack's research and their own observations. They knew they would face severe punishment, but stopping a war was more important than their careers, or even their lives. We never should have gone to Earth, Olivia said as they approached the massive council station that orbited a distant star. No, Galen disagreed. We were right to go. The council's policy was wrong. Humans aren't a threat unless we make them one. A squad of enforcement officers met them at the docking bay and escorted them directly to the council chamber. The great hall was filled with representatives from 100 worlds, all gathered to witness the trial of those who broke the Earth prohibition. High Elder Vexna sat at the center of the council table, her silver face showing no emotion. Other elders flanked her, their expressions equally grim. Researchers Galen Mason and Olivia Pierce. Vexna's voice echoed through the chamber. You stand accused of violating the highest law of our council, contact with a prohibited world. How do you plead? Guilty, Galen said, stepping forward. But we request the right to present evidence before sentencing. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Vexana looked displeased but nodded. Proceed. For the next hour, Galen and Olivia presented everything they had learned about humans, their adaptability, their resilience, their potential as allies rather than threats. Even now, Galen concluded, Earth prepares for a war with us. A war they did not start, but one they will fight with everything they have. Because they are dangerous, Vexana said flatly, just as we always believed. No, Olivia countered. Because they believe we plan to erase them. Your actions at the research station confirmed their worst fears. Before Vexana could respond, the chamber doors burst open. A council messenger rushed in. High Elders. Earth forces have captured an enforcement ship. Shock rippled through the room. Vexana rose to her feet. Impossible. Their technology is primitive. They used our own shields against us, the messenger explained. And they've sent a message. The main screen in the chamber activated. Colonel Wright appeared, standing in what was clearly a council ship's control room. Behind him stood Jack, Diane, and Frank. Greetings, Council, Wright said calmly. My name is Colonel Alan Wright of Earth. We have captured this vessel as proof of our capabilities and our resolve. How dare you? Vexana hissed. We dare because we must, Wright continued. Your policy of quarantine and memory wiping ends today. Earth demands recognition as an independent world with the right to join the galactic community. Jack stepped forward. High Elders, I helped the humans because your policy was wrong. I've seen what they can do. In less than a week, they reverse-engineered technology that took us centuries to develop. All the more reason to contain them. An elder shouted. No, Jack said firmly. All the more reason to ally with them. Imagine what humans could accomplish as partners rather than enemies. The chamber erupted in debate. Galen watched Vexana's face as she processed this unprecedented situation. Finally, she raised her hand for silence. How many ships has Earth prepared? Wright smiled slightly. Enough. We've established a defense network using the technology Jack shared with us. Any attack on Earth will be costly for the Council. You would start a war you cannot win? Vexana asked. We would prevent one, Diane said, stepping forward. We don't want conflict. We want exchange, knowledge, cooperation. And if we refuse? Vexana challenged. Wright's expression hardened. Then we'll do what humans have always done when faced with extinction. We'll fight. We'll adapt. We'll survive. Silence fell over the chamber. Galen held his breath, watching the High Elder's face. After what seemed like an eternity, Vexana spoke. The Council will recess to consider Earth's position. As the Elders filed out, an older Council member paused beside Galen. The Prohibition was created after our first contact with humans centuries ago, he whispered. They fought so fiercely against a simple research team that the Elders of that time feared what they might become with advanced technology. And now? Galen asked. The old counselor looked at the screen where Wright and the others waited. Now we must decide if it's better to have such a species as friends or enemies. 3 days later, the Council announced its decision. The Earth Prohibition was lifted. A formal delegation would establish relations with humanity. Galen, Olivia, and Jack, though stripped of their research positions, were appointed as advisors to the delegation. You were right, Vexana told Galen privately after the announcement. But remember this lesson. Sometimes rules exist not because of what a species is, but because of what they might become. As Galen prepared to return to Earth, he wondered what the future would bring. Humans were now part of the galactic community, for, better or worse, one thing was certain. The universe would never be the same again.